The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. On a regular basis, as you know, we analyze what works and what doesn't work to help develop young people in our schools. One thing is for sure, as we saw 2 weeks ago with the Monroe Academy's peer education program, if you give New York City school children expert supervision, activities that require them to think and do and create, then they do better in life. Well, the WISE Services program that works with high school seniors does all those things. And tonight, as we get near the end of the school year, we'll meet some of the young people who have been through that program, and we'll find out what they've been up to. We'll also talk with a couple of their mentors. No phone calls tonight because of the Memorial Day holiday, but you can email questions or comments to us at bronxtalk@hotmail.com, and we'll read those on the air during a future edition of our program. So to start off tonight, it's the teachers. Assistant Principal at Bronx Leadership Academy 2 is Michael Flynn. Good evening, Mr. Flynn.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. And he's back from the WISE Services Program, longtime educator, and now frequent Bronx Talk guest. It's 5, 10, 12 times already.
Only three.
Only three. All right. Dave Green. Thank you, Mr. Green. Good evening.
Thank you, Gary.
Well, it was you who said to me, you got to put this program on Bronx Talk. Explain to me what is so special about it and why you think it's important for the people of the Bronx to know about what you're doing.
Because, quite frankly, it's the best thing that you can ever do in high school. What we ask, basically, is what would you do if you had an opportunity to do anything you could in high school for academic credit? Something that you were passionate about, could go out in the world and experiment with a career, experiment with hobbies, experiment with future plans, experiment with anything, and try to figure out who you are, what your loves are, what your vocation in life might be, and get an opportunity to do the kinds of things that you simply cannot do in a classroom experience, where you can go out and play and learn and all at the same time, just like you did when you were in kindergarten.
We all know the climate, and we have analyzed the climate. In fact, you've been part of the dialogue here in analyzing the educational climate. I'm tempted to ask it in this way. How do you get away with it in this day and age where curriculum seems so structured, where, I think there's a great fear of quote-unquote wasting time. I realize what you're doing is not wasting time, but taking time away from the curricular activities that might not show an obvious, immediate, and direct relationship to quote-unquote school academic success.
For example, in New York State, when you take a look at the New York State standards in social studies and in English and what they now call career training and education, it stipulates that there are always the kinds of projects and field trips and the kinds of things that you can do outside the classroom to do this. This is really just a better planned, supervised version of that, where a student who is now 17 or 18 years old can immerse themselves in something and really learn entirely from it, instead of just getting a small sampling of something that you would do in a research paper. It's great immersion.
Let's talk about the mechanics of it. WISE is a not-for-profit.
Right.
Let's get how old it is, how many students it serves, how many schools you're in. Give the people of the Bronx the scope of the entire project.
The WISE program itself started at Woodlands High School in Greenburgh, New York, actually 40 years ago. So in that one high school, it's been there for 40 years. Roughly 20 years ago, a couple of the teachers who founded it at Woodlands retired and decided to start the not-for-profit called WISE Services, so that that program could be expanded to other schools. At the time that happened, I was at Scarsdale High School, and Scarsdale was one of the first schools to have picked up on that program, and it's now going to celebrate its 20th year next year. So currently, we have approximately 60 schools across the nation, from coast to coast, who are participating. There are other schools who have participated in the WISE program, but now have generated the program and they're sort of on their own. We've given birth, cut the umbilical cord, and the program still exists in over 100 schools, and about 35,000 students overall have partaken.
Okay, now we certainly want to break it down for New York City public schools, and they're all public schools where it exists, or
Mostly
I guess it
mostly,
wouldn't have to be.
No, they don't have to be. Mostly public, but there are private and parochial schools involved too.
All right, so let's break it down. How many in New York City, and of course we're mostly concerned with how many in the Bronx.
In New York City, we have about a half a dozen schools. There right now are three in the Bronx, unfortunately. Two of them are in the process of being closed by His Honor the Mayor. So we're trying to figure out a way
That's
to...
a dialogue for another show.
and so we're trying to figure out a way to sort of move the program into any of the new schools that open up there.
And how about how many students do you think you serve in the Bronx?
At this point, you have how many?
500.
No, in the WISE program itself.
27.
27. I would say overall it's about 60, about 20 per school.
Mr. Flynn, you are assistant principal at the school. Tell me about the history of the WISE program in your school.
So this is the first year that we've done the WISE program. I had been at a school prior to this school in Queens where I got to see the WISE program firsthand. It was very successful there, and after seeing it there, I knew that I wanted to bring it to Bronx Leadership Academy too. We started last year with a task force group of parents, teachers, staff members, and also community groups. And that's really been one of the huge side benefits of the WISE program, has been that through WISE, we've reached out to community groups and we have made partnerships with places like the Bronx Museum and Montefiore Hospital. And these are places that we probably should have been making partnerships with anyway. But WISE
this gives
gave
you an
us
excuse to a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Did you go to them? Did they go to you? I mean, you said that you were aware of it, and if so, why did you say, well, this is something we ought to have at our school?
just seeing student presentations at the end of the year in my former school and seeing the pride that they took in the work that they had done, seeing the changes that had, people in education always talk about the enormous changes that early elementary school children go through in the course of a year. And sometimes in high school we don't always feel like we see those kinds of enormous changes, but in the WISE program we really saw students come such a long way in terms of their confidence, in terms of feeling authoritative about a certain subject. Seeing that out in Queens really made me understand the benefit for students, made me want to bring it to the new school.
We're going to get a perfect example of that with the two young students who we're going to bring in right after we toss you guys out of here. But let's just basically ask the same question that I asked, because you're really on the front lines with all the pressures to stay curricular, to bang away at the academics, to deal with standardized testing and other measures of achievement. How do you get away with doing this kind of thing when you really, there's no denying those pressures are there?
Yeah, no, the tests are a reality for us, but we have prioritized experiential learning. For us, it's very important. So we've found ways to, allow our students to take the tests that they need to take in order to graduate, get the credits that they need to get in order to graduate, but also to find time for them to do this experiential learning.
Explain how it works. Do they go one day a week? Is it a couple of hours a day? I mean, give me, or does it depend on what it is that they do and, the activities?
That's exactly it. WISE is actually, each letter in WISE stands for a word, and the I in WISE stands for individualized. The program is completely individualized to the student. So depending on how extensive the student's project is, depending on if they still need to take some classes that they need for, towards their graduation and make credits up, they take as much time as they need to do their project. So some students go 1 or 2 days a week to an internship and then are in school the rest of the time. Other students are in their internships for much longer periods of time. It's really completely individualized.
Dave Green, who puts the stamp of approval and says, this is a project worthy of WISE, as opposed to somebody saying, hey, I want to hang out with my grandmother tomorrow. That kind of, in other words, it has to be a legitimate project with an academic result. And so who evaluates that and I assume coordinates that with the school?
The I in WISE is individualized, but it's also for the school. And
What are the others, by the way, the W, S, and the E?
WISE originally stood for Woodlands because it was the acronym for the Woodlands, and then it became WISE because it is a WISE, individualized senior experience.
There we go. Okay.
And each school has a task force which really runs the program with the obvious approval of the school's principal, and in more suburban districts, the superintendents and the boards who approve the program. Like any other program, it has to be approved. There is always dependent upon the school and the community and the way they shape it, there's a process by which a student decides how to choose a mentor, which is the person in the school, a teacher or staff member in the school, who they're working with as a partner in developing the project. There's an outside supervisor or a host whom they're working with out of the school, either as an internship or an individualized project. And collectively, they devise a proposal for a project which has to be approved by the mentor, by the parent, and by, depending upon the school, other representatives of that task force to make sure that it does meet the standards necessary to get the credit that it will accumulate.
Mr. Flynn, that sounds like something that it needs to be coordinated, needs good leadership, because if you don't have that coordination and leadership, then you'll have what I think the fear of bureaucrats are everywhere, is that this is just a waste of everybody's time. Is that a difficult process to put into place in this day and age when teachers may be retiring, teachers may be leaving, schools are small schools, they're breaking up, a principal leaves? I mean, is that a challenge?
It's a challenge, but we have been able to negotiate it so far, and I think we'll be able to continue to do that in the future. And in the end, it's worth all of the work that goes into putting these projects together for the students.
You have 27 students in there. In your mind, do you say, gee whiz, next year I'd like to have 30 or 40 or 50? Or do you say, geez, this is what we can manage? In other words, how do you see the future of the program at your institution?
Yeah, we'd love to be able to offer projects to more students. We'd love to be able to offer it to all of our seniors. It's something that we've talked about in the past. I don't know that next year it will happen, but we certainly want to expand.
Mr. Green, in terms of expanding a program like that, is this, it doesn't sound like it takes a lot of money. This doesn't sound like a financial commitment. It sounds like more what I was talking about before, the coordination and all those kinds of things.
It's more of a scheduling commitment. It's more of, the normal resources you talk about are money and time. This is really a time resource management issue. And it's up to the leadership of the school to figure out how to be able to best balance the times that their teaching staff has to be able to accommodate the number of kids who want to do the program. And it really doesn't cost much at all in terms of actual budget lines.
Budget line for either for you or for the school?
For both.
Right.
Right.
What is the scope? Now, I don't know who I should ask this question. Is the scope of activities, I guess you would have your hand on a larger scope of activities than the ones that they do. Give me the kinds of activities that you encourage and that you
Again,
recommend.
it's very dependent upon the schools, the individual kids involved. You've got 35,000 kids. You probably had about 20,000 different kinds of projects, and some of them are very local. It's interning, for example, at a local auto mechanic to learn a trade. Others have gone, again, depending upon the ability of the student to pay for it. We had one student at Scarsdale, for example, who studied geckos, and not the one from Geico, out in New Zealand under a professor at the University of New Zealand, where geckos happen to be more populous than, I think, even the sheep in New Zealand. So it depends upon the student, and then he went on to major in zoology. So then it depends upon the student's interest, the ability of the student to do it, the okay of the parent, the okay of the school system. Virtually anything can be done.
Mr. Flynn, we're going to meet two of your students in just a moment, but give me the range of things, and the two students, one does culinary and the other did video games. Give me the range of things that you have done so far.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. We have a student who's working with a veterinarian in a veterinarian office. We have students who are working on photography projects. We have a young lady who's at the Bronx Museum of Art doing her internship there. We have students who are doing nursing at Montefiore. We have students who are doing, another student who's doing culinary arts, along with our student who's here today, physical therapy. So a very wide range of different projects.
Now, you talk glowingly at the outset about results, and certainly the school system wants results, and we all want measurable or non-measurable results in our young people. Have you had a chance to see results in the young people, even in the 1 year that you've had the program?
Yeah. One of the hallmarks of WISE is that in some internship programs, a school has internships ready to go and plugs the students into the internships that they already have. So even if you are not interested in, say, accounting as a student, the school has an accounting internship, and so they plug you into that internship. For us, we don't have any internships that are ready to go. It's more about the students telling us what they're interested in, and then they do a lot of the legwork themselves. And a lot of what we work on them with is learning how to go out and knock on doors, do informational interviews with people in the field that you're interested in, and begin to find an internship for yourself. So,
And in general, what we work with in schools, and the schools develop themselves, is that the process itself is the product. The very fact that Michael's talking about, the learning about having to go out and find something you're interested in and finding your own placement is indeed something that all high school graduates and college graduates need to do.
Teachers, guidance teachers have been trying to get students to do this all along the way. And I guess if you can start in the year and say, guess what? You'll be able to start doing it now. I could see how a student would be motivated to do it. We've put up the website for educators, for parents, for others who might be watching this.
Right.
If they say, wait a minute, I like this idea, and I can't imagine you wouldn't, how would they go about putting this in place in their institution?
If they contact us there's a contact page on our website to contact our president or myself or any of the other key staff members. You can contact us, and we will send a representative to school and meet with you and help you set it up.
Great. So it's wiseservices.org.
Yes, it is.
Gentlemen, you know I love and respect you, but I'm tossing you out of here because I really love and respect Bronx high school students, and we're going to bring a couple of wonderful ones in here in just a moment. Okay?
Sure.
Thanks.
All right, fair
Thanks,
enough.
Gary.
We'll take a short break on Bronx Talk. A rare time that we take a break, but we want to bring those students in. Don't go away.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Okay, back with you on Bronx Talk. I am thrilled that we have 2 students from the Bronx Leadership Academy 2. And it sounds like a movie, but it's not. It's real life and it's real Bronx life. So, Amanda Bland, hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us. And also Leroy Silva, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Leroy, let's start with you. You made video games? Explain to me how that worked. What did you do?
Well, my video game is actually a platformer that says harkens back to the old NES days where you can on the old Nintendo, your little Marios, your Ice Climbers. My game is actually built off a popular franchise right now. It's a little fan game. Really intuitive, really tough to build on the software that I have now.
Well, so what happened? I mean, we talked about the WISE program. Did somebody just say, go home and make a video game, or did you work with somebody? Did you get involved with a company? How did it work out that you got to a point that you were creating video games?
That's the special thing about my project, because my project, compared to most people, is actually a non-internship project. Because I actually sent out, say, about 10 to 11 emails. I only got back one reply saying that even though we're like a really small scale, we can't really, we don't have a place to put you in. So, like, you know what, I'll just figure out what to do on my own.
Really?
Yeah, like, pull up a Google search, find the proper resources, and have an idea and just work with it.
And did you actually physically build a game, or you made a prototype? How did that work? And Jane, I know, has some images that we're going to put up while you're talking.
It started with a prototype at first. Really basic stuff, jumping, wall jumping, collecting coins, making it to different levels. It was actually really, really tough to make that first build, and from there it took off very well. I had some problems in the middle, but I was able to work over them, and very well.
And where did you do? Did you do this work at home?
Mostly at home and mostly outside school. I used those school computers to actually make a proper testing of the games, so that they're working at the proper frame rates. Also, I can show my friends my progress. So they say, hey, that game looks pretty good. Can I try it? I'm like, sure, give me your feedbacks.
So there really was a sense of, it wasn't just make a game, you really had to work and develop it. Now, basically the same question I asked the teachers, I'm going to ask you. I guess the concern would be, gee whiz, here's a kid just kind of on his own, goofing off. Who monitored you? Who mentored you? Who made sure that you really were doing something that was productive?
My mentor is actually my old French teacher, Miss Dondero. She's a really cool teacher. She's been really active in my Rise project, coordinating what I should do, schedules, like what I should do this, do that, make sure I have like a proper build ready. Also,
and you would report to her every day, let's say?
Say every week at least.
Every week. How much time did you spend on doing this project?
Most times when I get home from school, I do my homework, and as soon as the homework's done, right onto the game, developing, level building, researching some assets too.
Oh, so this I like, frankly, and as a parent, I like this a lot better. So you really did do a full school day.
Right.
And then you did your homework, and then you did this afterwards anyway, in addition.
Right.
And so for you, it wasn't taking time out from your school.
No, it was mostly...
Oh, I like this a lot. This is going well. Talk to me about the teachers who are here talk glowingly about the results. And I know in the school system we always want to see results. Have you changed? I realize you learned about the project. There's no question about it. What did you benefit from through this whole entire process?
I think the best thing I've learned about the WISE project that I've been doing is that most people, the door is always closed. Like, you have to like find your footing, get yourself out there, putting all your skills, like saying, hey, I can do this, sure. Make sure like you leave a lasting impression on people. Also, I guess that the best thing I also learned as well would be to really, I don't even know how to put this like correctly, because like it's been so great to work on this for like an entire year. But I think the best thing to say is that keep working at what you do. Make sure that you get like a proper holding the door and anything that really happen.
Right, and a sense of goal and being able to achieve that goal is
right.
If I can help you express that.
Yeah, that's the
all right. Fair enough. We're going to get back to you before we end up the show. Now we're going to welcome our friend Amanda in. Amanda, I mentioned it earlier, but you learned about culinary arts.
Yes.
Tell me about your interest in culinary arts before we talk about the specifics of what you ultimately did.
Okay. Through high school, I didn't really think I would be into like culinary field until my senior year, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, I really like food, and I should do it.
Do you cook at home? Have you cooked before, or did you watch the Food Channel, the Food Network, so you're always excited about it?
I used to watch the Food Network with my grandma when she used to live in New York, and I don't cook, but I assist my sister when she cooks in my house.
So then when this idea of the WISE program came about, you said, I will do culinary. I'm raising my hand like we do in school, right?
Yes.
And then, so what did they do? Were they hooked you up with somebody? How did that work out?
In the beginning, Mr. Flynn, he had an internship for me ready, and I did it, and then...
Where was that internship?
It was for one in a restaurant, Telepam, and it was for like helping kids cook healthy meals and
Oh, that's good.
elementary
Now,
school.
when you say you help them, what did you help them do? Jane, I know we have pictures. We're going to put the pictures up while I'm
They were
talking.
in elementary school. There were these potato labs, and they had a little
Potato
oven.
labs?
Yeah,
I got to get back to school.
and there was a little conventional oven, and we'll like let the kids cut up potatoes and put them in the oven and cook them and eat them.
And you specifically supervised the process?
Mm-hmm.
How old were the kids?
They were about like 5 or 6 and 7.
5, 6, and 7.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Jane, you can put the pictures up. We want to see what Amanda did. Oh, here's an example of some of the things she did. And then what did that grow into? You said that was the first step. Then what
Yeah.
did you ultimately do?
Then I went into a baking / pastry type, because I figured that I don't eat.
We're looking at a graduation cake, it looks like, that you made.
Yeah, I don't really eat a lot of regular food, so I figured baking would be better because I like pastry.
Good. And if you want to cook something, you want to eat what you make. So you did that, and who did you do that with?
I do that with a lady that I found on the internet. I had to, since I had the
A
first
Bronx baker?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a shout out and give her, especially if she has a bakery, we'll give her the credit.
Yeah, it's from Snooki's Oven. And
Snooki's Oven. Where
Yeah.
is Snooki's Oven?
Is in 792 Columbus Avenue.
On Columbus? Oh, downtown.
Yeah.
So you would go downtown. How much time did you do it during the day, during the school day?
It was only for like 3 or 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
As
A
much-
day or a week?
Oh, a day.
A day. So
Yeah.
you spend half a day down there.
Mm-hmm.
What did you get out of this?
I got out of all of this, I got a sense of responsibility, because before the WISE program, I did not know how to travel and get to most places and be on time and stuff. And then
And that you were responsible to something and somebody else other than
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and just kind of going to school and raising your hand.
Yeah.
Right? And so this added that to it. You are doing what after high school? You're a senior now. What are you doing when you graduate?
I'm going to attend a college in Manhattan, a community college, and then from there I'm going to go to Florida and attend a college for culinary arts.
You're going to study culinary arts, and that's what I said. We were going to get back to you, Leroy. What are you going to be doing after high school?
Actually, I'll be going to Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont. I'll be majoring in management of creative media, which is more of a business major. For me, personally, in the gaming industry, that'll be more of the game producer's role.
Listen, you got to put it all together. You can't swallow it whole. Leroy Silva, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amanda Bland, thank you so much. You both
You're
have great
welcome.
futures, and we'll thank our two teachers, Dave Green and Michael Flynn, for inspiring you, and represent us great when you get out there in the world. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Folks, if you have further comments or questions on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, then email them to us at bronxtalk@hotmail.com, and we'll read those on the air during a future edition of our program. Archives of Bronx Talk are available at bronxnet.org. You click Bronx Talk on the right-hand navigation bar. Also, please become a fan, and you'd better do that too, of Bronx Talk on Facebook. Next Monday night, we'll be joined by the Controller of the City of New York. John Liu will be here. Lots to talk about with him. We'll talk about the Fresh Direct project, the filtration plant, the race for mayor, and much, much more. So we do a whole range of things on Bronx Talk Monday nights at 9, on BronxNet, Cablevision 67, Verizon Fios Channel 33. Thanks, of course, to producer Jane Folloro, director Michael Arias, to Dina, the cast of thousands who are around us, and to you,